So let's talk about our trip into Pluto TV with Jack Ryan, Shadow Recruit.
Yes, Jack Ryan, Shadow Recruit, which would it be I guess the fifth Jack Ryan movie. Is that right? Yeah, fifth. And it was a reboot of the franchise, going back to the beginning of Jack Ryan's career in the CIA. We get a little go with his backstory. Where he's a student at the was it London School of Economics, I believe, was where he was
Yes.
going. Yeah, yeah, and then 9/11 happens, and so then he quits college and joins the Marine Corps, and then it's while in a helicopter in Afghanistan, they get shot down, and that's where he hurts his back. And he's going through rehab, and that's where he meets a young med student named Kathy Mueller. And of course, for those of you who are fans of Jack Ryan, Kathy ends up being Jack Ryan's wife.
Although you'd be kind of surprised by it from how they interact in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah. So first of all, Jack Ryan's played by Chris Pine, who, of course, is Captain Kirk in the Kelvin Timeline Star Trek movies. He was also
that against him.
Well, yeah, we won't hold that against him. He was also in the most recent Dungeons and Dragons movie, which, if you have not watched that movie, I recommend it highly.
The creators were stupid trying to make it some sort of anti-toxic masculinity thing. The only thing you could possibly stretch that out from is the fact that they had large barbarian women who seemed to have a thing for short kings.
Yeah. But other than that, there was nothing really political or anything going on with that movie. He was also in Hell or High Water, which we also reviewed.
And of course, he was in the Wonder Woman movies.
Right.
And man, I gotta say, like, he's kind of up there with Henry Cavill, where it's like he's a great. He seems like he should be a great leading man with an amazing career, and yet,
yeah,
he keeps being in these misbegotten franchises.
I feel bad for those guys. They can't seem to catch a break.
Right. Now, Henry Cavill, of course, is much more screwed over than Mr. Pine, but because at least they made multiple Star Trek movies, and he was handsomely paid for them, and they didn't jerk him around towards the end.
Right. Yeah. Well, they kind of did. They were trying to do the fourth movie, but they wanted him to take a pay cut.
Let me rephrase that. They didn't jerk him. He did not allow himself to be jerked around successfully.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure he just kept saying no.
Yeah. And then also rounding out the cast is Kevin Costner playing was it Thomas Harper? Well, actually, not rounding out the cast, but also Kevin Costner playing Jack Ryan's boss, Thomas Harper. And interesting little bit of trivia: Kevin Costner was actually up for the role of Jack Ryan when I think Baldwin left, and then they ended up giving it to Harrison. They give it to Harrison Ford. And then you also got the villain of the movie, Victor. What was how do you pronounce his name?
Sheridan.
Yeah, played by Kenneth Branagh, who was also the director on the movie.
And when I directed Jack Ryan Shadow Recruit, I got such a great performance out of me because I respected me so much.
Yes. Ooh. Oh yeah, but yeah. So basically, the crux of the story is Jack Ryan is working in a.
Actually, let's take a step back.
Oh, okay.
Well, let's pretend the audience has never heard of this Jack Ryan fellow before.
Okay. Yes. So Jack Ryan is the creation of the late Tom Clancy, who's a novelist, wrote a lot of political spy thrillers in the 80s and 90s. And previously, he's been before this movie, he was played by Alec Baldwin in The Hunt for Red October, Harrison Ford in the Patriot Games and Clear and Present Danger, and then Ben Affleck played him in The Sum of All Fears,
which is the only one of those I had seen in theaters. And I gotta say that like that version of Jack Ryan didn't really impress himself on me. Like I remember the movie, but mostly like the spectacle scenes after the nuke goes off.
Yeah, I wasn't too impressed with Affleck in that movie.
That was like what, early 2000s? Like that was not a peak time in his career. I think that actually he's one of those guys who his acting shtick improves by being a bit older and haggard.
Right, yeah. Like an old and haggard Batman.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. But and then now there is an Amazon show, a Jack Ryan Amazon show with John Krasinski playing Jack Ryan. I've only seen like 2 seasons of that, but I remember it being pretty decent.
Yeah, like when you talked about it, you always had positive feelings on it.
Yeah.
So I'd say that would it be fair to say that you're a Jack Ryan fan or
casual Jack Ryan fan? Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't call myself that, in part because Red October, I just kept wanting to be like, come on, you have James Bond over there with a bad Russian accent, or an unattempted Russian accent, being awesome in every scene.
Yes,
stop cutting to Jack Ryan.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think this, but I mean, I didn't necessarily have a problem with Chris Pine's portrayal of the character. He didn't have a whole lot to work with.
Right. Like, this was a reboot / reimagining, because I believe like Jack Ryan, he probably got, I can't remember specifically, but he got his helicopter accident in Vietnam originally, right?
Was it Vietnam or was it? It might have been Grenada or Panama. No, not Panama. Grenada.
Grenada would make sense for the timing of things.
Yeah, yeah. Well, in the novels it might have been Vietnam, but the movies it might have been. I can't remember where it was, but yeah, it was something like that. Yeah. But yeah, in this one it's in Afghanistan, and and of course, and so the crux of the movie is while he's in rehab, he's recruited by the CIA by Kevin Costner's character to work for the CIA, basically as a financial intelligence officer, because he's very good at spotting patterns and seeing discrepancies and things.
And he had been attending the London School of Economics before he decided to join the army.
Right. Yeah. And so Costner's like, all right, well, I want you to go back to school, get your PhD, and then you're gonna, he basically they insert him into a Wall Street firm, investment firm, and he starts seeing a lot of irregularities with this one Russian company. And so he reports it to his superiors, and then his superiors are like, well, we need you to go to Moscow to look into this. And part of his whole cover is he talks to his contact in an old movie theater. And back at home, of course, he and Kathy are engaged, and she finds the ticket stub in his pants, and she starts to assume that he's having an affair.
As one does.
Yes. So then he goes to Moscow, and he has this big African security guard who almost kills him. And then that's when Ryan and everybody realizes that there's something really bad coming along, and essentially Kenneth Branagh's character is about to stage an attack, massive attack, and at the same time they're like dumping all of the US currency that they own, so basically completely devaluing the dollar, and then have this terrorist attack, and then basically trigger another Great Depression.
Right. Like just pump up the dollar. It's like undermining in a medieval siege.
Right. Yeah. Um, and so of course the other aspect of it, well, while Jack Ryan's dealing with this, he's got everything going on with Kathy. And did we mention who was playing Kathy?
Keira Knightley.
Keira Knightley, yes, who of course most people remember from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Yeah. Doing her best impression of what's her name from Casino Royale in this movie, like just in terms of look and acting.
Yes, yeah. Ava Green, yes, as Vesper Lind. And
I think it's very funny that to a certain extent that whole era of Bond was trying so hard to ape the Bourne Identity,
yeah,
and then you have this movie, which it's like very much the makers of the Jack Ryan movies going, well, shoot, we need our Casino Royale to bring this into the modern era.
right, yeah. Like, well, didn't quite work out that way. Didn't quite work out very well. But yeah, so he's good. And then Kathy shows up in Russia because they were supposed to meet up after he was done in Russia. They were going to meet up in Paris,
Right.
but then she ends up going to Moscow, and then she gets roped into this whole operation.
Right. Now, what I'll say about this plot overall is that it's it's like a scheme that I could see somebody attempting and executing. Like the Jack Ryan movies I've seen have always been plausible.
Yeah.
Now, like just to think back on it, in Hunt for Red October, you had the excitement of, oh, we've got this super stealth Russian submarine that could wipe out the whole eastern seaboard. Like, who's going to own that?
Yeah.
Or in Patriot Games, which we reviewed, you've got a clear one-on-one antagonism between Jack Ryan and these Irish terrorists.
Right.
Clear and present danger. Apparently, in the original novel, it was the more suspected Middle Eastern terrorists.
Yeah, but they changed it to drug cartels.
With neo bad guys from World War II.
Oh no, that was Some of All Fears.
I thought I said Some of All Fears? My bad.
Yeah, Some of All Fears was when they changed the Middle Eastern terrorists to the bad guys from World War II, or neo bad guys from World War II, and then Clear Present Danger was
that's the one we haven't watched yet. Yeah,
we haven't watched that one yet. No, that was another Harrison Ford. It was that was the Colombian drug cartels.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
but yes.
Yeah. Well, I'll say, like, for all of those threats, there's like I think it's like a more clear physical football that you're trying to track. Like, there is a thing that you can reach out and touch.
Mm-hmm.
Turning it into like financial shenanigans makes it both more blasé in a way, and you have to like try to insert action into it artificially.
Yeah.
And also, it becomes less plausible. At least my cynical self, it's less plausible that they'd be able to stop it once the plan had been started.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they're very lucky they didn't have more backups in case the in case the guy was disabled somehow from doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Arcos mentions the funny part of the security guard trying to kill him was before he goes to Russia, he complains about possibly having to torture someone for info and condemns his boss for waterboarding, and then kills the guard by drowning. Yeah.
This movie is full of hypocrisy. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
So yeah, I wasn't very engaged with this one for a couple of reasons. One was that I kind of like Jack Ryan as a middle-aged guy with a loving wife and small child he has to worry about.
Yeah, as opposed to a young guy who's just starting out. Yeah.
And I have a hard time imagining Keira Knightley, the take command nurse, turning into the loving kind of homebody wife that we see later in the in the previous movies.
Well, she was a well, she's not. Well, she was a nurse. She was a eye surgeon.
Okay, you know what? That shows how much I remembered
If
her
you paid
character.
attention, yeah.
But okay, at the very least, she had the feel of someone more domestic. Is I guess what I'm trying to get at.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. With the way that the way she was with the kids. Yeah.
Right, the kids, and like very supportive of him.
Yeah.
Like, I hate to use the phrase "girl boss" because that isn't quite what Keira Knightley was, but it's more like she was just kind of abrasive, and it was kind of funny to me that like the whole plot kind of relied on the one hand, he kept offering to marry her because if you're in the CIA, you can only tell a spouse that you're in the CIA.
Yeah.
So he wanted to like let her know what was going on so she would stop being suspicious. But at the same time, she kept like oh, I'm going to keep rejecting your marriage offers. But at the same time, I'm going to check up on you in Moscow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, yeah. Make up your mind, darling.
If you like it, then let him put a ring on it.
Yeah. And and most women, you know, if they're with a guy who's like you know, like really wants to marry you that much, most women be like, yes, yes, let's get
They're all
married, let's do it.
compatible, then yeah.
Yeah, like yeah.
Yeah. Now, part of the reason I'm critical of the characters is because all of their scenes together were just like they had no chemistry.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and they were always like sniping at each other too. And now some of that was they were having to act that way, but I don't know how much
Right.
acting
Even in the
was
scenes
going.
when they were being themselves.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that was kind of funny where he had to pretend to be a blitzed out, degenerate financial bro
yeah,
uh, to set up an excuse for him to leave a meeting
yeah.
and leave her in his stead. But yeah, this wasn't fun.
No, yeah, and yeah, and Brenna, like you know, like Kenneth Branagh is an amazing actor, and he was so like stilted in a movie that he's directing.
Yeah, like how does that happen? Was he just too busy focused on being focused on the other stuff?
Yeah,
Was
maybe.
he just like stretched too many ways? Did the character just kind of suck? I think the character just kind of sucked.
I think yeah, the character just kind of sucked. Yeah, yeah, the Russian oligarch with a short temper.
Like, okay, I mean, like, um, like it's not like the Irish terrorist from Patriot Games was the most deep character, but he had clear motivations, and you understood why he had this vendetta against Jack Ryan.
Yeah, yeah. And this one, he's just like, oh, he's Russian and he hates America.
Right. And he was assigned to do a thing because of it, because of a pipeline through Turkey or whatever.
Right. Yeah. That's yeah.
Um, Action scenes were okay. It's I'll give this like a firm C.
Mm.
Also, you
Yeah.
might notice that the logo for the evil company looks suspiciously like Enron's.
Yes. Yeah. Not a lot of subtlety there. Yeah, this movie came out in 2014, right? Not long, you know, just a few years after the you know, 2008 financial crisis. So I'm sure the plot probably had played some of that event played into the creation of the plot.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, you can see why this didn't spawn a huge franchise with people waiting on with bated breath to see more of this Jack Ryan.
Right. Yeah. Part of me wonders if Paramount didn't make it just so that they could hold the rights to the character, you know.
Are they
A la Fantastic Four and the
and Fan Four Stick?
Fan Four Stick, yeah.
For that matter, Fantastic Four with Pedro Pascal to an extent.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, is Paramount at all involved with the current Amazon show?
I don't know.
Because if they aren't, boy, that did not pay out for them.
No, it didn't. Let's see. Jack Ryan, Amazon. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Jack Ryan, Amazon. Doesn't say.
Okay, if Paramount's name isn't on it prominently, then they probably aren't. So
Yeah.
maybe movie rights are separate from TV rights, or maybe they just let the rights lapse after this failed.
Oh no, no, they're involved with it. Yeah, Paramount
Okay.
and Skydance. Yeah, Paramount, Skydance. Yeah, they're involved.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Then my suspicion was correct.
Yeah. But if you are curious about this movie, Pluto TV, maybe on Paramount Plus, I'm not sure.
Although let's take a moment to talk about Pluto TV because
Yes.
Okay, so where I feel like Tubi is a totally valid watching experience, and my only real complaint is the frequency of ads.
Yeah.
Using Pluto TV on the Xbox is a freaking nightmare.
Yeah, you were telling me about that. Yeah, it kept starting the movie like 15 minutes in.
Right. Like I was very confused with this one, which might be part of like why I had a negative opinion of it to start with, because I spent 5 minutes being very confused. Because at least on the Xbox player, when you start a movie, it starts it after the first ad break, which is like 15 minutes in.
Oh.
Then you have to wrangle it back. And when you open up the app, it starts you on live TV instead of presenting you a menu of options, because Pluto TV is much more trying to recreate the live table experience or live cable experience.
Right. Yeah.
Which did you have any of that on PlayStation or wherever else you used it?
I used it on Apple TV, and it did have the live was on there. The live video was on there, but it was like in the corner. It wasn't like on the screen fully.
Right. Like if I wasn't as app savvy as I am, I could see like an older person trying to use it on an Xbox being very confused. Because like it really just feels like it's trying to lump you into, it's like some Dallas cheerleaders thing I was watching, like some reality TV show that it kept trying to make me watch.
Oh god.
And it was very obnoxious to actually not only find movies I had saved previously.
Oh jeez. Well, when I opened it up, it had Murder, She Wrote on there. Oh.
So yeah, I think that as far as free movie platforms goes, Tubi is definitely the stronger choice.
Yeah.
Because I can't tell you if the selection is actually better on one or the other, because I had such a hard time navigating that edition of Pluto TV that I couldn't tell you.
Right. Yeah. Well.
So yeah, not for Xbox owners.
Nope.
I don't know if that's just like a lack of updates or just they don't care or what.
Yeah.
Also, the ad placements were more egregious than on Tubi, in my opinion.
Yes, they were. Yeah, and very abrupt too. Like, more abrupt than they are on Tubi.
Which is saying something, considering what we complained about last week.
Yeah. Yeah.